beautiful Sunday, and that means it's time for another anime review. What? Why are you staring at me? If you saw the thumbnail or read the title of the video on the bottom, you should know what this is. Seriously? Do you want me to spell this out for you? Do you not think that I think you're intelligent enough to figure it out on your own? You guys don't think? Okay, fine! Attack on Titan Season 3. There! I said it! You happy? Great! Let's get started with the review now that I've mentioned it. Cue the music. Following the insane events of Season 2, we go from trying to go beyond the walls to actually facing conflict within them. Members of the Scout Regiment are being arrested left and right, and allies of them are subsequently being arrested and or murdered. This soon leads to Eren and Historia lives being put in danger, as it's now believed that the government is after them. Things become even more complicated when a group of mercenaries led by the serial killer Kenny the Ripper gets involved. Soon, a war wages between the scouts and the military police. All the while, a dark secret that the ruling officials have kept hidden for the past century looms that could very much change everything. To sum up Season 3 here and all the crazy twists and turns it brings, let's just say that when you build a wall, everyone pays for it. And yes, I'm well aware of what that last comment is a joke of. Shoot me. Needless to say, Attack on Titan fans will not be disappointed with this season. Heck, we're only halfway through it. I've actually been enjoying Season 3 a lot, and that's especially considering that after Season 2, I didn't consider picking it back up once I finished Season 2. But that being said, I did feel like Season 3 didn't quite meet the expectations I had set for it. But to be fair, I felt like I kept comparing it to Season 2, and well, for me, I felt like Season 2 was such a big game changer for Attack on Titan in general. Overall, I give Attack on Titan Season 3 an 85. Yeah, I know. That's considerably low, given that it's Attack on Titan we're talking about here. But if you've ever read my blog before, you'll probably know that I have a bit of a complicated relationship with the series. But rest assured, that had no effect on my rating at all here. There were actual problems that did. But before I delve into those, let's talk about what I really liked. If you're familiar with Attack on Titan at all, you'll probably know that it not only covers epic and brutal fights with Titans, but it also involves a lot of mystery surrounding the Titans themselves and the world humanity now lives in. Here, it's all about unraveling the mystery. It's about finding out some of the big details that humanity has forgotten over the past 100 years, and it's done entertainingly well. It also brings with it a bit of fresh air, not just in terms of plot, but with some of the characters as well. For example, from the very first episode, I thought Historia was going to be the absolute worst character in the entire season. What a shock I got when by about the 6th or 7th episode, she grows a pair and takes some initiative now that her and the audience knows her ties to the royal family. I kid you not, in that first episode, I jokingly called her Krista Stewart for how dull and numb she seemed to act around everybody. But let's face it, she has much more emotion and personality than Bella Swan ever did. But after she decided to kick it to her own fate, she became the star. This was her time to shine, and boy howdy did she. It was also a little satisfying to watch Eren go from this screaming, angry brat to this moody Shinji-esque character when he learns a bit of truth about his own past and, more particularly, his father, Grisha Yeager.
I won't make light of the fact that this personality change came with him acting suicidal for a good chunk of an episode, but it was better than him ranting about killing titans.
I also thought the fight scenes were a great focal point for the season, but not in the way that you'd think.
For nearly 40 episodes now, we've been watching fights against humans and titans. But it was interesting in Season 3 to watch humans go up against other humans. Or rather, watch the military attack itself. But it works because it adds to the drama and the mystery that's unfolding. Which leads me to what was probably the piece de resistance for me this season so far. Literally, in the end credits of episode 12, we get a cutscene of Levi, Eren, and Mikasa in what the audience could assume is Shiganshina, followed by Levi saying, "Do you understand what you're doing?" And then Mikasa proceeding to attack Levi and pin him down. Holy crap! That's one hell of a cliffhanger if I ever saw one. I doubt Marvel could top that. And it does exactly what it's intended for, to get you hyped for the second half of the season. Granted, I was already hyped in the previous episode after seeing Bertolt and Reiner again, only to hear David Matranga's sweet performance as Bertolt once again.
Yeah, I've only been watching the English dub of Season 3. Fight me!
But like I said earlier, if you're already an Attack on Titan fan, you'll love Season 3 and eat up every single minute of it. And even if you're not a fan, you'll still enjoy it.
But as much as I enjoyed Season 3, there were a couple of problems with it.
While I said earlier that Season 3 being dedicated to unraveling the mystery of the Walls and the royal family was one of the show's greatest intrigues, for me personally, I also found it to be one of its weakest points. For a show called Attack on Titan, I kind of expected there to be more Titans. But no, there's almost no confrontation with the Titans at all for the entire arc. Much of it centers on solving this mystery with the Walls, the royal family, and this big cover-up with the military police.
Cause that's just what you want to see in a show about giant man-eating monsters, right? Conspiracy theories!
While some people could count the one fight towards the midway point of Season 3, honestly, it wasn't all that interesting to me. Heck, I wouldn't even rank it on the top 10 Attack on Titan fights.
Another problem that I had with Season 3 was that it either spent too much time reiterating exposition that we already got throughout the season, or focusing on seemingly insignificant characters who wind up having a very important backstory. In saying this, I'm directly referring to the episodes that focused on Kenny the Ripper and Keith Shottis.
Kenny's exposition episode, Friends, was nothing more than repeated background information on Kenny that we already knew. And a lot of this information was revealed early on in the season. We know that Kenny was Levi's guardian for some time. We know that he was commissioned by the government as well as the royal family to serve as this secret agent assassin person. And we know there's a unique connection between him and the royal family. The only new detail we get is Kenny's personal connection with the heads of the family. But this information could have easily been given out in only half an episode. So why bother dedicate a full episode to revealing this information?
Shottis' episode Bystander was very similar, except that the detail that comes out of that episode I felt like didn't have that major an impact on the series. Well, not yet anyways.
Now, to be fair, it is nice to see that Shottis actually had a very personal relationship with Eren's parents. But, once again, all we get are details about Grisha that we already learned during the season. Now, I'm sure that many of you watching this will probably argue that Reiner and Bertolt's big reveal in Season 2 did the exact same thing. Ironically, this was my favorite moment from Season 2, if not the entire series.
But here's the difference. Reiner and Bertolt's revelation is massive and completely changes our view of the running story. Shadis' revelation, though big, did nothing to change our view of the running story. Yet.
From episode 1, we knew that the armored and colossal titans were major threats and the start of all the events in the series. So when we learn who they really are, it changes not only how we see these characters, but also makes us wonder what direction the story will go from that point. In Shadis' case, in revealing that Grisha might have come from somewhere outside the walls, isn't as impactful because we don't really know that much about Grisha himself. Even though we learn that Grisha was a prominent figure in Shiganshina and that he had a direct hand in Eren becoming a Titan, we know very little about him and therefore don't have a reason to look at him or the running plot differently. He was already a mysterious person, and all this does is make the audience ask more questions. And, like I said earlier, this revelation didn't make as big a splash as finding out who the colossal and armored titans are. Some of you may think differently, but you're more than welcome to vent in the comments if you disagree.
Overall, in this long-winded review, Attack on Titan Season 3 was one of the great watches of 2018. And while I wasn't completely satisfied with it, I'm definitely looking forward to the second half coming out this year. And if you haven't given this show a watch, I recommend it. I kid you not, it's one colossal hit. And so that wraps up this review. Thank you so much for watching, and concerning a certain event that happens in February every year, yep, it's coming. Well, it's coming back like always, but it's coming to YouTube.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to my annual Flashback February event, where I dedicate the month of February to reviews on old and classic anime series and films.
Expect an announcement video on that sometime next week, and while I won't give anything away about that, I will say that I've actually been super excited about this year because I finally get to do something of an event with it. But more on that next week when the video comes out. Until next time, bye! And yes, I'm well aware of what that last comment is a joke of. Shoot me. This whole government shutdown thing going on has us all a little stir crazy.